Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a beautiful Wednesday morning. Welcome to a brand new day, and welcome, Carolyn Ortrun Franklin, to your show, Earth's Ascension.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
I love your topic for today.
Well, I think because of the energy of today, we may change it a little bit. I'd like to start off with asking you and Ortrun a question. Dana, what are you feeling today?
A lightness in my heart center. I feel elevated in my heart chakra.
Ortrun, what are you feeling today?
Well, Carl and I have a very different, I'm going to say, work that Carl and I do on this planet, and of course, Carl's is very much the moving along those that are basically ready to move on, whether they're entities, disembodied entities, or dark lords, or even the higher ups. And so we've had a tremendous amount of that activity going on here this morning, and he's not usually the one that notices the energy, but because of my being the empath in the family, I'm the one that notices it more than he does. So we've been having a lot of activity. Actually, I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning, and all I've been doing is basically sending light and love out into the planet today. So because this is really a tremendously important day, and it's just there's such a change of what will be occurring as time goes on now.
Ortrun, what are you feeling in your body and in your mind?
Well, as far as I guess Carl wants me to share this just because maybe other people are feeling that also. So I'm not feeling that lightness like Dana is. I'm really feeling a lot of pressure is what I'm feeling, and sort of a jumpy sensation, and my head wants to just sort of, it's a little bit headachy and so on. So those are the types of things that I experience when there's a lot of energy. But as I said, most individuals are not involved with the type of energy work that Carl and I do. So it's probably not quite as strong for others, but it might be. It might all be. Or some of you might be feeling those types of vibratory frequencies running through your body.
The energy is so strong that I had a live script reading scheduled for this afternoon, and I've had to reschedule it because there's no way that we would get clear answers. I want to share with you some of what I've been given just minutes before this call started. Donald Trump he didn't believe, he absolutely knew he was going to be reelected because the dark beings that overlighted him, the dark lords that overlighted him, told him that. And they had told him that same thing back in the year 2020, or 2019 actually. And he won against all odds the presidency, and he assumed that those that were overlighting him, they knew and they had control, and he was going to be reelected this time, which is the reason he was not willing to announce that to give up. He just held on and held on. And there was a battle going on between the forces of darkness and the forces of light. And the battle is a battle for control. And the forces of light, their strategy, and this was just revealed to me, as I say, minutes ago, their strategy was to not engage in the battle. They felt that even with a weak candidate that Joe Biden was, that he would have enough votes to carry the election, which he did. They knew it was going to be close, but they refused to put up a strong battle. The dark forces are strong enough that they were even controlled much of the channel information that we were getting from higher dimensional beings. And they had influenced, I have to say, these sources, or at least the ones that were receiving the messages. And so the dark was absolutely certain that they were going to win, and they were saying 80% of the vote was going to be theirs, all right? Well, anyway, it didn't turn out that way. And when Joe Biden won, and it was backed up by the courts and by I don't know how many investigations regarding voting fraud, et cetera, it has put the dark in absolute total disarray. And right now, there are hundreds of thousands of dark lords that are absolutely frustrated. They don't know what to do. They're disorganized. They are discombobulated. They are running hither and yon. And there is so much fractured negative energy on the planet now that Ortrin is feeling, that I am feeling. And people that are at a high enough level of consciousness perhaps are above that frequency, so they may not be aware of it. But there is so much just discord and disharmony and dysfunction. And the Dark Lords today are having to admit they've lost control of planet Earth. The dark has lost control of planet Earth, and this is their day of realization of that. And they know that there is no reversing this trend. They know that they are done controlling planet Earth and the human race. And that's the bottom line of what this is all about. And one of the lessons that the light has told me this morning that we are to learn from all of this is the only source of information that you can truly trust is coming from within you. And to get true, accurate information from within you, it's necessary for you to go into the highest state of consciousness you're capable of before you ask your question. But the answers lie within us, not with channeled information, as they have demonstrated. That too can be manipulated, but it has to come from within us. And that is the I'm going to say the ultimate lesson that we are here to learn from all of this. And I would appreciate comments from either of Ortrun or Dana or from the audience on this.
Well, it certainly is a big day, and I do think that there's been, of course, we know over the ages, there's always been that challenge between, the dark and the light. But the age of Aquarius is an age that is meant to be one of peace, spiritual joy, harmony, humanity, equality, spiritual liberation, and the freedom to pursue your God-given right of life, liberty, and happiness. And this has been coming forth for a long period of time, and I just want to review a little bit some of the timeline things that have happened over the years that Carl and I actually have been part of the whole arena, the spiritual metaphysical arena. And we didn't even know, back in 1967, I graduated from high school in 62, that this was going to be such a big, beautiful, actually, growth period upon our planet. And certainly we need to have both the dark and the light on the planet for us to have growth, because it's always that pushing against. It's when you have your challenges that's when you grow and become and you step up a little bit higher. So this is what the entire Earth school is really doing at different levels of awareness and consciousness. And so when in 1967, this Age of Aquarius, the Genesis song came out, Age of Aquarius, it was really something quite new, because really up to that point, most of us hadn't really thought that much about a huge projection, a huge jump in consciousness. But that was the first inclination of it, and it still wasn't really that predominant. It looked like it was the hippie era. These people were, rebellious. They were looking for something more. They were looking for being able to be free and to be independent and to live more harmoniously. And, we heard those songs, like John Lennon's Imagine us living in peace and harmony. And so that was more the beginning of where this all started. And about 20 years later, this harmonic convergence came out, and that was another leap. A time when things seemed to be opening up more. And it didn't seem like it was that much either, because looking at Carl's and my experience, there's been so many predictions over all of these years. Carl and I have been together for 44, and they would say this is what's happening, and nothing seemed to appear. Not much, at least, it didn't seem like. But then, like in 1987, the harmonic convergence occurred. A few years later, the wall, came down, where the East Germans were able to now and come back and forth, into the rest of Europe and so on. So this was a huge thing. I was born during World War II in Europe, and that is something I never expected to happen in my lifetime, but it did. But that was part of that whole process of this Aquarian energy starting to come, closer and closer and closer. And then in 2012, the harmonic concordance took place. And that was really now opening the gateway to Aquarius happening. I find it interesting that during that time, we started talking more about Aquarius, talking more about this new vibratory frequency, this new energy of where we could possibly live. And then, of course, this last December, 12/20/2021, that truly was even a larger gateway of this Aquarian energy to come in. The alignment of Jupiter and Saturn was an enormous configuration. This configuration, it is a type of configuration that takes place when there is that changing of the guard, I'm going to say, you're moving from age to age to age. And so here we were, and we had this amazing, again, like I said, huge gateway being opened. I remember back, oh my gosh, I think it was around 2012 when we were doing a workshop down in Florida, and I had just read something about the time of, the 1967, with the age of Aquarius being mentioned, and what was being given, what I had read was that now it was like 55 years later, it was the same configuration. At that time, the Genesis saying about Jupiter aligning with Mars, and that the same kind of a configuration was taking place, except it was in a different quadrant. So what they were saying at that time was that was the first call coming from the ancestors saying, it is the time is coming for us to have harmony, for us to have peace, to have joy. And then at the harmonic concordance, the message was, now is the time. And that there was a different quadrant. So it was the ancient times. It's almost, to me, when I think of it as coming from the west. And now it was the new coming from the east. So it is now unfolding. It's really getting closer and closer. But it does take time to move into the age of Aquarius fully. So we've felt some of these different energies and vibrations leading us into the age of Aquarius, but we are now getting closer and closer. And this energy of this Jupiter and Mars configuration will take place again in 21, 23. Well, Carl has always said it takes about 150 years to get into the full swing of what Aquarius is really all about. So we are on the way. We are into another level of awareness and consciousness. So I'm going to pass this over to Carl and see what he has to add to that.
Yeah, what I would ask of you today, especially today, but really throughout the balance of the week, if you have, meditate. send light, send love to Washington, to the leaders of this country, and then when you're ready, expand that to send it to the leaders of countries, of not only governments, but the financial leaders, the spiritual leaders, the educational leaders, the health leaders, the cultural leaders throughout the world. Because if today, for the first time, the light forces have more control than the dark. The dark is on the way out, and we to strengthen the workers, the light workers, to encourage them, to empower them, and by empowering yourself and then sharing your power, this is a role, an important role that we can play in bringing about and increasing the forces of light, the energy of light, the consciousness of light in the human race and on the surface of the planet. So I think we're here with an important role to play, and it's no longer time for us to be silent. It's time for us to begin to speak our truth to those that are ready to hear, and not only with our words, but also with our actions, with our thoughts, with our meditations, with our prayers, and to open ourselves up of heart and mind so that we're open to receive the higher information that is now coming in at ever-increasing amounts. And it's coming in at ever-increasing frequencies also. We're moving into a new strand or band of energy, and which includes a higher strand and band of consciousness. And we're the ones that are going to ground that. We being the light workers, the light warriors, we're going to ground that, and in order to ground it, we have to ground it within our own self, within our own bodies, our own hearts, our own minds. And so, please, if you'll take time today and just see the world, see this country, see it filled with light, with love, with peace, and if you are connected with the angels, ask their help in doing this. And if you're connected with your own soul, ask your soul for help. And then you have the higher aspects of your soul. Invite them to please channel information and energy to you coming from the higher dimensions so that you can ground it into the collective consciousness of humanity and ground it into the planet itself. So today, it is, in my mind, a very, very important day, probably one of the most important days that we've experienced thus far. And believe me, these important days are coming to us more frequently, but that gives us a more frequent opportunity to affect the change that we would all like to see on the planet. And here's our truth.
Dana, do you have anything to add to any of these thoughts that we're passing on right now?
Well, as I'm listening to the both of you, it reminds me of a Native American prophecy. And I remember having this conversation more than one occasion with Chief Arvo Looking Horse, that the time would come where we would be at a fork in the road, and we would choose the way of materialism and et cetera, or we would choose the way of brotherhood and sisterhood, or being connected to all things, Mitakuye. And I believe that we're choosing the latter. I believe that there has been a choice made personally for many people and globally, that we're realizing finally that we are related to every living thing, seen and unseen. And just in that realization in our own personal lives, the ripple effect of that is astonishing.
Yes, it truly is. And the thing is that, you know, with the amount of years that Carl and I have been in, I'm going to say, this movement, and you too also, Dana, that we certainly have seen a difference as far as the consciousness of people upon the planet, haven't we?
We certainly have.
Right. And I mean, I always say, look at yourself where you were, 25 years ago. What were you doing? What were you thinking? And where are you now in what it is that you are doing, and how you're thinking. The reason why I wanted to review a little bit about the background of Aquarius is because I don't know if the listeners that are listening to this podcast, whether they are even very much aware of what it's about and how long this actually has been going on, and how long actually individuals have been waiting for something to happen. Even if they don't know it, they came here to be on the planet at this particular time to usher in this age of Aquarius, this age of peace and joy and goodness and strength. I want to just again go back just a little bit because I want to share with you the prayer that was so predominant, many years ago. And you can hear, and then I've got it also where it was translated a little bit differently, and how it sort of shifted in consciousness. So back when we first came into this thought about the age of Aquarius, one of the prayers that was very, very predominant was by Alice Bailey, and it was the Great Invocation.
Oh, I love that prayer.
Yes, isn't that a beautiful one?
Yes.
And so I'm going to read that to you right now for those of you that maybe have never even heard this before. So this was where we were starting as far as moving into this thought of higher consciousness, higher awareness. And here, this is how it goes. The Great Invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. And that was something that Alice Bailey wrote, I think it was in the 30s.
Yes.
And how prevalent, that particular wording is, and how beautiful it is. But then there's another one that it was a newer translation, and I found this very, very interesting because it just speaks a little bit differently in a little different words. So I'm going to go ahead and read this one also to you and see how it feels for you. And again, this is the Great Invocation, but it was modified. This is by the Lucas Trust. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth in human hearts and all of humanity. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. What I'd like to add to that, Dana, is that in both of these prayers, which are absolutely beautiful, it shows a little bit of a progression of where the consciousness of people was. It was, first it was more, everything was way, way out there. We saw the energies. We didn't see them really within us, but we had that power within us. The second prayer brings it a little bit closer. But what I'd like to really relay today is that, and as Carl mentioned a little bit earlier, all that is right for you is what is within you. And for you to recognize that the divine will of Creator, Mother, Father, God, is right within each and every one of us. So to connect with that divine essence that dwells within you, and then to even say this prayer, focusing that energy of those words inward and seeing how that makes you feel then. Read each one of these versions and then take it within and see how it feels for you. There may be a deeper, more committed, a stronger, more beautiful vibratory frequency of energy that will come forth from within you. And you, as that one walking this earth plane, can then radiate out this new energy that you experience. For that is your task, is to plant energies of divine essence into the world.
To sum this all up, and to quote Jesus, in the Gospel of John, he said, "Do you not know that you are God?" And in the story of creation in Genesis, it's stated, "And God created humankind in his own image and likeness." And to stress the point, it's repeated, in his image and likeness, he created them. And the essence is that we are the gods on the surface of the earth. We're not the gods of the universe. We're only the gods on the surface of the earth. And as we go within and connect with our own soul being the divine consciousness that exists within each and every person, as we connect with it and begin to communicate with it, as we begin to listen to it, and we begin to turn control of our life over to our soul, realizing that our physical, mental, and emotional bodies are nothing more than vehicles through which our divine soul chooses to not only experience, but also express, and allowing our soul to express fully, totally, completely through us, then truly we become the gods on the surface of the earth that we were created to be. And we will create here what is in the divine will. And the divine will, according to my understanding, is that we make earth heaven on earth. All right? And we have, as you can tell, we have a long, long way to go. But we are taking such giant steps in such a short period of time now, and we are now headed in that direction. And we're here for our own growth, and I think all of us would say our growth has been greatly accelerated over the last 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And the rate of growth, it continues to accelerate. And we're certainly now moving in that direction. And now that the forces of light, which includes us, have control over the earth, we can move more quickly and with certainly a far less resistance towards creating this heaven on earth. And Dana mentioned timelines, and she's absolutely correct. We've already made a decision, each and every one of us. And I believe that those people that have chosen to stay as service to self, they will not be able to reincarnate back on this planet, because the planet will not be at a frequency that they can no longer will no longer be attracted to or can even exist on. So they will be going to another planet. And I think that this is probably going to be a natural phenomenon that's going to happen over a matter of 1 or 2 generations. And as light workers, we have obviously made our choice. We're going to stay with the heavenly earth. And we're the ones that also are the ones that are going to be creating it.
So, seems like it's pretty deep today, doesn't it?
It is.
But
it's beautiful.
It is a really, really important day today, and certainly there is a changing of the guard, and we are here to assist in whatever it is that the divine essence of our Creator desires for us to create. So, and I know that we are here to come to recognize that we are all one, that we all come from the divine, that we are all children of the divine Mother, Father, or the God, Goddess of creation. So our souls all come from that space. And so when you make a decision as to how it is that you desire to act, that's why I mentioned go within. Take this prayer within. Take your prayers within and see how they present themselves for you. There are many, many layers within us, and we may be at a level of understanding which is very much outer at this point in time. But as you're reading a holy book, read yourself. Take away those layers. Start moving them aside one by one and see what that divine essence that dwells within you actually has to say about you and about your purpose, about our purpose as we are one, for we are one, going forth and creating this beautiful, beautiful planet and the many inhabitants that are upon it, loving them, being at peace with them, loving our planet, loving everything, the animals, the plants, and on, everything that is there about the planet. Love it, embrace it. And when you make a choice, make certain that you in your heart feel in harmony, that you feel peace, that you feel love, and then go forth. And certainly then it is the appropriate thing for us to share, each one of us to share upon the planet and for the planet.
Dana, do you have any final words here?
Well, Charlotte in the chat room has a question for you, Carl. She's asking, did you say the growth exhilarates or accelerates?
Speeds up.
Speeds up. Perfect. Well, the thing that occurred to me, and it keeps reoccurring to me, from, I guess, my viewpoint as an ordained minister, when I look in the New Testament anyway, since I was little, my favorite has always been the book of Matthew. And in particular, Matthew 25, where it begins at 36. I was naked and you covered me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. And it goes on and on and on in that particular chapter, 25. And this morning as I was thinking about all that's happening at this time, perhaps finally that teaching has a greater meaning. That, what we do unto others, ultimately we do to Source and on behalf of Source and ourselves. And for me, that just gives me such an elevation in my heart. And, as somebody who's been running a charitable foundation for 15 years now, it really has deep meaning that I have a feeling, and perhaps it's just an exquisite hope, that people will begin to see the truth of that teaching in its many forms. Because that teaching is in all sacred teachings. Call it the golden rule, call it what you will. But we do matter. Our words matter. Our behavior matters. And what we do for another, we do for ourselves. And I think that that's really important right now. I mean, how do you both feel about that?
Well, definitely. I agree with everything, that you're saying.
I do too.
Yeah, because we are, brothers and sisters. We're connected. We are one. We are one. And so if you're going to do something, what would you like to experience, for yourself? That's what you want also to have others experience, we're here to lift, if we can. Each one of us is, we are all part of that step. everyone is uplifting someone. There's someone that we are teaching, right?
Yes.
So, and assisting and helping to grow in awareness and consciousness. So, to recognize that what it is that you are putting out there, that it's something that you feel is truly, truly effective for you, and also, to help in having people and recognize that they are worthy, that they are divine, that they too are assisting the planet in its development. We are all, brothers and sisters of the light, as far as I'm concerned.
I think that Kelly Spencer, she's in the chat room, she just wrapped up the morning so beautiful. She said, "What a wonderful way to begin this special day. Thank you. My heart is happily leaking from my eyes. Loving peace to all."
Thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate it, and we are happy to have all of you, with us, and we certainly wish you many, many blessings today and every day. As we said, you are divine lights.
Amen.
Amen. All right, you two, have a gorgeous day. I'll be seeing you both Thursday evening for the Mystery School.
Yes, sounds good. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We love you and embrace you, and we will see you again next month. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.